Are we all okay?
Yep.
Right, I'm just going to press broadcast. Good luck, everybody.
Are we now live, Carla?
We are now live. Hi, everybody who's joining us. I know we're a little bit early. We're not meant to start until 2, but I just thought I'd let you all in. Just so you know, we had a really good webinar last week with Atkins. It was a huge success. Lots of people were live watching Atkins. Lots of people have gone back and also watched the recorded version as well. So don't forget, if you couldn't join us then, you can today, and you can also rewatch the Atkins webinar as well. What we've also decided to do over the past couple of days is chop down the Atkins webinar and also the Network Rail webinar as well, just so it's in kind of bite-sized chunks, so you'll be able to go back, find out all the information within the Career Centre as well. It's under lots of different advice headings, so before you start applying to jobs and opportunities, make sure you do thoroughly research the employers, watch these videos, watch the insights, so you can get a really good quality application in. So yeah, it's 2 o'clock. So I think we should start, if that's all right with everybody else. So I'd just like to say hello everybody and thank you for joining us on the Network Rail webinar. Me and Jessica would like to also thank everybody who attended the Atkins webinar last week. It was lovely. We had so many lovely comments after, thanking GradCracker and Atkins for all the advice we gave you. So much so, a lot of you have now signed up to this webinar, which is absolutely fantastic, and also the webinars that we're running in the future as well. So don't forget, don't miss out. All of the webinars can be found in the Career Centre, so register your interest and find out about them now. So firstly, to introductions. I know that you'll all probably recognise me and Jessica, but for those who don't, hello everyone, my name's Carla. I am the Customer Relations Director at GradCracker, and I look after all of the employers who advertise with us. Jessica?
Hello everyone. So yeah, a lot of you will hopefully recognise me. I've been out and about on campus and probably done quite a few presentations with you all in the past. But yeah, big part of my role as marketing director is to make you all aware of GradCracker, all the amazing employers that we have on there and all their fantastic opportunities. So again, thank you all for joining us.
Thanks, Jess. So Network Rail has really fond memories for us. It was the first Insight that we held last year. Me and Jess went to the Network Rail headquarters in Milton Keynes. We were really impressed by the campus style and nature of the facilities there. They've got shops, a gym, library, and the atmosphere was lovely as well. Friendly, welcoming. So if you haven't already seen the Insight Day, check it out. There's lots of really good advice, videos, images as well, so you can get to know what the Milton Keynes HQ looks like. This is the day where we also met Michael. Michael, great to see you again. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you.
Good, my love. So for the members of the audience who haven't seen the Insight Day, can you just introduce yourself, where and what you studied at university and what you do at Network Rail?
So yeah, obviously I'm Michael. I did electrical engineering at uni. I did a 4-year ME course. And now I'm at Network Rail on the graduate program, the electrical engineering graduate program, and working within projects at the moment.
Brilliant. And when are you due to finish the graduate program, Michael?
So I'll be finishing officially in September. But the way our program works is that as you start coming towards the end of the graduate program, you're expected to go off and find a job that is interesting to you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Good to see you again. Addy, on to you. Can you just explain where you went to uni, what you studied, and what you do now at Network Rail?
Yeah, thanks. Hi, my name's Addy. I went to the University of Leicester. I got my master's in mechanical engineering, and I joined in the same year as Michael and Alex on the mechanical engineering graduate scheme. At the moment, I've been working in route asset management remotely with some colleagues in York, just helping in asset protection and in a reliability improvement.
Brilliant. Over to you, Alex.
Hi everyone, I'm Alex. I went to 2 different unis actually. I have quite a weird sort of start because I actually studied petroleum engineering. That was in Manchester. And then I moved down to Exeter and did a master's in civil engineering with management. And I've actually just left the grad scheme. So I've started my first job within Network Rail as a project engineer. So I'm based in the southeast route. So that covers Kent, Sussex, and some of the high-speed stuff as well. And yeah, I'm looking mainly at sort of more geotechnical side of things at the moment, but we'll see how it progresses.
Brilliant. Yeah, I'd really like to thank all the grads for taking, and Nina, we'll introduce you in a second, Nina, for taking the time out today. I know you're all on, courses or inductions and things like that, so they've literally just they've grabbed an hour. So thank you very much for joining us today. So last by no means least, Nina, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sorry, say that again, Carla?
So just going to say, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Nina and I'm a part of the graduate attraction team at Network Rail.
Fantastic. So what we're going to do is start with Nina and run in a similar format to what we did last week. So just get to know a little bit more about the Network Rail recruitment process, and then we'll go over to the grads and get their true insights about what life is like there. Hopefully, again, we're going to ask all the questions that we think you, the audience, would like us to ask. If we haven't asked a question, you can find my details on GradCracker or Jess's. Just drop us an email. If you want to know something that we haven't asked, give us a shout and then we'll definitely get back to you. So, Nina, who is Network Rail? What are you all about?
So Network Rail owns, operates and develops Britain's railway infrastructure.
Fantastic. And could you let me know a little bit more about your recruitment process? So we know how it goes. A student would find out about your placement and graduate opportunities on GradCracker. Obviously, they can thoroughly research you on GradCracker. You've got lots of good content on there, so videos, profiles and things like that. But then when they click through from us to you, what is the process after that?
Okay, so once they come through to us, they'll complete their application. And then they'll be asked to do a psychometric test by Arctic Shores. So this measures your attributes and competencies, and it's a games-based app which you download on your phone, and by playing different games on the app, it helps us to understand your natural strengths and behaviours, and ultimately we then get to know the candidate who's applied for the scheme. So we'll be going live in September, October for the application. So if you're successful after the psychometric test, we then invite you to come and do an online virtual interview, and then we'll invite you onto the assessment centres. So at the moment, we're hoping to get through the process from December to February, which will stagger due to the amount of schemes that we offer. And then if the candidate's successful, we then let you know in early March.
Fantastic. And then that would be for the students to start in September the following year?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Brilliant. And will they meet you during this process, Nina? Can they put a face to a name? Possibly.
I might be in the assessment centres or doing the virtual interviews.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So there's a lot of students out there who are thinking, right, so what should I do? What hints and tips would you give a student or a grad when they're applying for opportunities?
So hints and tips, I'd probably take time to understand Network Rail.
Yeah.
And if Network Rail is also suitable for you. So when you're applying, because it's a two-way process, so I think it's important for the candidate to know that Network Rail is right for them as much as they are for us. So you can do this by researching as much as you can about the company, finding out if Network Rail aligns to your personal values and morals. So say, for example, a candidate may find that flexibility at work is important to them. So it's important to find out if that particular value aligns to their own, or if a candidate's interested in environment, again, it's important to find out if Network Rail follows the same values and morals as their own.
Yeah. I think Nina made a really good point there. So it isn't just about the employer, in this case, Network Rail, asking you questions. I know hundreds of employers and they are open to being asked questions too. So like Nina says, it is a two-way process. So don't think that you are just going to sit there and get asked all the questions. It's really good to show some interest. what you could do is like research a project that you know that Network Rail is working on, and when you during the interview or when you go to an interview, you can always ask them what it's about or what future plans that they've got. So don't forget, you know, it is a two-way thing. So that's a really good tip.
Absolutely, yeah.
And what emphasis do you put on preparation and like the importance of research? Is there any hints and tips that you could give there?
Yeah, so I think it's important to research and prepare before approaching applications and especially interviews, because I think candidates need to think about their university course and how the skills and experiences that they've learnt on the course actually applies to the role. So that when they go into, or when they're filling out their application, they take time to write the correct answers, or in the interviews when they're asked a question, how them skills can relate to the question that they're being asked.
Yeah, definitely. And I think another thing as well is don't forget that it's good to show that the preparation that you've put in. So for example, to these webinars, I know all the grads and myself and Jess and Nina have put in loads and loads of prep, and you know, I'm not ashamed to tell you all that. I'm not ashamed when, you know, I go to meetings with employers either, to show them the prep that I've done. It shows that you care, it shows that you're driven, it shows that you really have thoroughly researched the employers as well. So that kind of don't hold that back. You know, it's a really good thing that you are doing your research. And refer back as well. You know, if I was Network Rail, for example, and you came to be interviewed by me, I would say, oh look, you know, I follow Network Rail on GradCracker. I've watched your webinar; it was fantastic. It's really good to show that you've thoroughly done your research, and you haven't just looked at specific areas as well. You've listened to the grads, you know what they're all about and what they're up to. So yeah, thank you, Nina. That's really good advice.
Interesting as well that, you know, I know it's only the second webinar, but you know, a common thread already seems to be research, and being able to, you know, one, show off that you've done your research and understand the business, but two, it makes the application process easier, because then you genuinely know you want to apply and you want to work for that company, because you know you've got a genuine interest, and you know you believe what the business is doing is the right thing. So I think, you know, for something definitely for the students to take away, it just seems a very common thread that, you know, you want the students to have done your research. I think as well it stands out when you don't. I can imagine as a recruiter, you know, when you're sat in front of someone and you know you're asking these questions, and it must be hard, you know, if you haven't done your research and you don't know. So yeah, definitely research is key.
Well, also the more prepared you are, the more confident you're going to be once you're in your interviews as well.
Yeah, completely agree. And I think as well, you know, I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar about all the positive compliments and comments that we had from the audience last time. So it's worth the audience knowing this time. It's not just students out there who are watching this, it's careers, it's unis, it's employers as well. And some of the comments that myself and Jessica had back following on from the last webinar was, oh, thank you for saying that. That's what we want to say as well. That's the point that we want to make. So don't just think it's, you know, GradCracker and Network Rail saying this, it's all of the unis out there and everybody else. So it's kind of, it's nice to know that we're all like singing from the same hymn sheet as well. Brill, thanks Nina. So what we're going to do now is move on to the grads. Come on grads, you're up. So Jessica's going to take over this bit as well. Michael knows that we're crazy, so that's why he's laughing. So Jessica's going to take over this bit and answer the questions. So over to you, Jess.
Yeah, so my first question is for Alex and Michael and Addy. What I want to know is, why did you initially apply to Network Rail, and what originally attracted you to work for them? So Alex, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I think with Network Rail, it's a massive organisation, right? So there's about 40,000 employees, I think. So that definitely attracted me, because I knew sort of coming out of uni, I wanted to get as much experience as I could, and sort of entering such a big organisation, I knew that I would have lots of training opportunities, sort of loads and loads of time and opportunities to grow and develop as a graduate and as a working professional. And the scheme itself, I think it was the rotational placements, you know, the opportunity to get experience in, you know, 3 different areas of engineering. Because I didn't particularly know when I graduated what area I wanted to go into. If I wanted to do design, or if I was more sort of interested in more of the construction side, or if I wanted to go more down a management route. So yeah, having 2 years to kind of take stock and get lots of experience, and then kind of understand where I wanted to sort of specialize in.
Yeah,
I think that was the major sort of pull. And also the culture at Network Rail, you know, you've already touched on flexibility. I think Nina was saying about that.
Yeah.
I just got such a good sense when I went for my interview that we matched up.
yeah.
And I did do my research, and I just felt like we were well suited. So yeah, that's kind of what really drew me in.
Alex,
Sorry.
I was just going to say, Alex, you know, you just mentioned about 40,000 people, 40,000 strong Network Rail. Now, to some people in our audience, think, wow, that is quite intimidating. But, you know, were you intimidated by that? I know it's a lot of people, but when we went to Network Rail, it was it seemed like quite a nice family culture there.
Yeah, it is, because it's separated. So, you know, you've got 40,000 people UK wide.
Yeah.
And as a graduate, you're separated into a route.
Mm-hmm.
So I was put in the Angular route. So it only covers, I'm not entirely sure how many people are in the Angular route, but it's a few thousand, I think, rather than 40,000. And you're put into a team, and you've got other graduates that are also on that route. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of, because it is separated into different, I mean, we've got regions now, but then you've also got routes, which are even smaller. There is that, it's a big company, so there's lots of opportunity. If I wanted to move up to Scotland, or, you know, see something in Wales, or I can, but at the same time, it hasn't lost that kind of small sort of company feeling, because you are in teams that are, say, 10 or 15 people. So yeah, I don't think there's any need to be intimidated, because you're never going to meet all 40,000.
That would be intimidating.
But yeah, I'm not sure what else Michael and Addy would like to say. But
No, that's great. Thanks, Alex.
no worries.
So Addy, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I sort of chose to apply was because some Network Pro grads came to a career fair at my university during my final year, and one of them had actually gone to my university, so we just had a chat catching up, and I asked him, you know, give me the truth.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, it's a great company to work for. So after talking to him, I thought I could see myself there. So I did some research about what they did, what Network Pro does, and just the responsibilities. And I realized, one, how large the company was, because I was like Alex, I was unsure about what I wanted to do and what specific type of engineering I wanted to do. But I always thought, if I joined a large company, I have the option just to sort of maybe move around a bit and try different areas.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to work abroad as well. So researching about Network Rail, I realized that there were actually international opportunities as well. So that's why I applied in the end.
Brilliant. It's interesting, isn't it? You know, I think, you know, you put a lot of onus, I can imagine, you know, you've went through, you go through thinking, I need to know by the end of, you know, when I finish my degree, what my career is going to be like and where I'm going to be. And it's interesting how both Alex and Addy, you didn't know, you know, you're thinking, I don't actually know right now what career path I want to go in, but how fabulous is it that, you know, Network Rails, you know, offers that and offers you to experience so many different routes, and then at the end of it where you can almost pick and choose the career that you want. Because I think sometimes students do put that pressure on themselves, thinking, you know, when I finish I'm going to be doing this and I'm going to be doing that, and you don't necessarily always follow that particular career path. So it's quite interesting how you both didn't know, but now you're doing something which, you know, it's a bit different but you love. Michael, same with you. Why was you initially attracted to Network Rail?
So it's always been a company that's been visible to me for a while. So as a student, you take a lot of trains, so you tend to see the logos about and you recognize it.
Yeah.
But like Addy and Alex, I didn't really have any specific company in mind when I was applying for jobs. But I knew that I wanted to do something to do with electrical power. So I looked at the companies that, you know, had some sort of electrical power related engineering within what they do. Mm-hmm. And the more I found out about Network Rail, the more attracted I was to it. Like the culture, it really fits into the kind of person I am. And I think that's really important as well. Like Nina was saying, it's a two-way thing.
Yeah.
So those are the main reasons why I applied for them.
Adi, can I just go back to you, because I think a lot of for our audience will be thinking about the international opportunities with Network Rail. What kind of opportunities are they available to them?
So when I initially joined, I was just researching everything about them, and I realized that we actually have a consultancy as part of it, Network Rail Consulting.
Right.
Because the work we do in the UK is very, very good. We know we're railway experts or throughout the company, so other countries are very, very keen to learn from us, and we're more than happy to go over there and share our experiences. So there are opportunities from Saudi Arabia to Australia, North America, and just all around Europe as well. So that was what sort of drew me in. And when we got to the scheme, there was actually an opportunity to do an international placement last year that came up, and I applied to it, and I was very, very fortunate that I was meant to be going to Boston this year for 6 months, but unfortunately due to COVID that couldn't happen.
Yeah.
But might still be able to pick up on that next year.
Yeah, I think that's really good, Adi. I think that's a lot of things that people won't. It's an area that people won't be aware of either, that Network Rail does. So yeah, thanks for giving us that insight.
Well, Adi, should we stick with you? Because what I do want to talk about next is kind of the interview process and the assessment centre experience that you had. Can you tell the listeners in a bit more detail about how you found it and what experiences you experienced?
Well, as far as interviews, there were 2 interviews that we did. The first one was a video interview while doing the application process. And for that one, it was just, be prepared as much as you can, do your research, look professional, wear a shirt and a tie, or just something smart.
Yeah.
And that was very, very different. But in the in-person one, it was very, very welcoming, because it was just the two people. You walk into a room and they just greet you and just let you get comfortable and just sort of talk around and just enter the environment. And it was really, really encouraging, because I got the sense very much that they wanted me to do well. Brilliant. And they wanted me to be able to actually get my point out fully, and they gave me chances to just evaluate what I was saying and then even just explore it a bit more. It was really good.
Oh, that's nice you said that as well, because I think, I know when you've gone for interviews in the past, you do get nervous, don't you? You think, is the person at the other side of the table going to purposely try and trip me up? Are they testing me? Are they testing my knowledge? But it's nice that obviously you felt as though that, they're wanting you to do well. They're encouraging you. I think sometimes you get so nervous before an interview, expecting it to be a monster. Sorry, Nina, you're not a monster, but you know what I mean? So at the other end table, judging everything you've said. So that's great that you felt like that and you felt so comfortable.
I don't know, Jess, and speaking on behalf of our experience as well at GradCracker, we've interviewed for members of staff here, and I know before interviews sometimes I feel really nervous.
Yeah.
I feel nervous about my job, and I feel nervous for them as well. So it's not just you who's attending the interview might feel a bit apprehensive. Think about the interviewer; they might feel a little bit nervous as well.
Yeah, and there's a good point there as well, because I've said that when I've been in presentations and talking to the listeners. I always say, before you go into an interview, think about, have empathy for the other person, because ultimately the person at the other side of the table or other side of the Zoom call or whatever, wants the person that they're interviewing to be genuinely interested. They want someone who really wants to work for their business, and so I think if you show that again with your research and, showing that you genuinely are interested and you're passionate about the company and the role, that will also come through. And that's something as an interviewer, you want to hear. I'm sure you have that, Nina. You want someone to want to work for Network Rail and to show off that they're genuinely interested and passionate.
Yeah, of course. And I think you tend to find the ones that do prepare, and they're showing you all their research and what they've done at uni, and they want to talk about it, and they're very curious. They ask lots of questions.
Yeah, I can imagine. And just keeping on with the kind of application process, Nina, you mentioned earlier about the gamification testings you do.
Yeah, the psychometric testing.
Yeah, it seems quite a new thing of the years that the employers are starting to do. Could you kind of maybe talk a little bit more detail about what the process is like? You know, for example, so that obviously they download the app. Is it kind of certain time frames they've got to complete these kind of games? How does it work in a little bit more detail?
So when you first download the app, there's like a pre-game that you can play just so you kind of understand the games that are going to come up. But it takes around 20 to 30 minutes.
Okay.
And there aren't any sort of questions. You can't get it right or wrong. It's purely you're just playing a game, and it's just measuring your competencies, your strengths, your behaviours, how you would play the game, what you would choose, what you would do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. But it's just 20 to 30 minutes.
So you don't get like kicked out almost, you know, if you don't get anything, you know, wrong. Can you do the games multiple times, or?
I'm not sure. I can find out about that though. But I know that you just need to take your time, and you can do it whenever you want. So it's not something that needs to be done there and then.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
When you're relaxed and in a good headspace, whatever.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's just something to look out. I don't think you could probably second this, Carla. It seems to be quite new, quite common method that our employers are starting to do more of. So again, just the listeners, when you do start applying, prepare for this, because it could be that you.
Yeah, if you Google Arctic Shores, you can see the app, and you can find out a little bit more about it if you want to know before you actually have to do it.
Okay, yeah. Brilliant.
And what we'll do, Nina, is we'll probably get together after this anyway, and what we could maybe do is look into the gamification area a little bit more, and put some hints and tips together, put a blog on your hub as well, and we'll include that blog on the Career Centre for all the listeners out there. I know within the Career Centre there's also a section for advice on online tests, which include like your virtual tests or your gaming tests and things like that. So check that out, and we'll add to the Network Rail section after the webinar.
Yeah, cool. Maybe the grads have done the psychometric testing games. Not sure if they've done it.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
It was the same when we did it.
How did you find it? Can you give any hints and tips, Michael, to any of the students?
I think compared to a lot of the other companies, it's a dream. It's compared to some of the things that they make you do, it's a joy. And if you have the numerical abilities, you should be fine with it. And it's sort of things like identifying the patterns and sequences, so that kind of thing. So I think there's nothing to worry about when it comes to the psychometric test.
Adi, have you got anything to add to that? You were nodding along.
Well, I prepped for that game the way I prepped for any other sort of psychometric test, and I was completely over-prepared, because I kept looking at very, very questions that I could solve, and I kept thinking, it's got to be a trick. Where is it? I can't see it. But I just sort of stepped back a bit, got comfortable, and then just did it.
Yeah, it really is that straightforward.
Oh, that's good.
How do you zone yourself then? Do you get yourself in like a quiet room with pen and paper next to you? Yeah, I'm going to say no. Michael's like, no, I was in front of telly. How do you like mentally prepare yourself for these things like you would an interview?
Practice.
Yeah,
you have to do a lot of practice to get it down to muscle memory, and then
just replicate the same environment.
Yeah,
I usually have the same song playing on repeat, headphones on loud.
Really? Wow.
Tell everyone to go away.
Yeah, go away. Yeah. Good thinking.
I think a lot of companies put too much emphasis on the psychometric test as well, and they lose out on a lot of quality candidates as well to do that.
Oh yeah,
which is a shame.
Yeah.
Because it actually takes a lot of energy to study for one. And even though you're capable of actually passing it, you just don't have the time to dedicate to it.
Yeah.
Alex, have you got any kind of advice from the experience that you had? So say, for example, the assessment centre, how did you conquer your assessment centre day?
Yeah, I mean, it's been touched on a lot already. You need to know your company well, right? Because I mean, at the time I was applying for lots of different different jobs within the civil engineering industry.
Yeah.
And when it came to the Network Rail one, I knew that, you know, you need to know your stuff about the company for sure. So I spent quite a lot of time looking at Network Rail's values. Obviously, you know, safety is very, very, for Network Rail particularly, it's crucial. So I did quite a lot of research about that. And then I just tried to be as authentic as possible. You know, I think it's so important to be honest. And I tried to sort of see the interview as, you know, I'm interviewing them as much as they're interviewing me.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I did sort of think that, you know, you have a value, you've spent a long time studying for your degrees, and it needs to be the right fit for both yourself and the company. You're going to be spending a lot of time there, you're going to be investing, you know, a lot. So yeah, I think being honest, and, you know, as it happened when I went to my interview, similar to what Addy was saying, my interview has made me feel so at ease. And I just felt like I was having a conversation. I was very nervous, and I'm sure I rambled a little bit, but I think, again, it kind of goes back to just being authentic, and play to your strengths. You know, I like to talk, so I did a lot of talking.
Yeah.
But, you know, every company needs lots of different people. You know, they need people that are perhaps a little bit quieter. And, you know, if you're passionate, it will come through. So, yeah, I say they're the main things, really, my advice. And don't worry, you know, if you don't get this one, there will be other opportunities. I think for me personally, when I finished uni, I was kind of panicking, you know, like you said before, about wanting to know what's next.
Yeah.
And I realised that actually, as long as you're doing something that you care about and you're passionate about, then it's fine. It will all fall into place. And that sounds a bit sort of cliche or whatever, but yeah, just give it your best shot. And you're going to learn from it, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I think it's all about, this is what we look for as well. It's all about being yourself, because if you go in and you put on an act, you can't act forever. So you might as well go in, be yourself. You know, here at Gradcracker, we've got some quieter ones, some louder ones, and everything else. But that combination, like Alex says, that combination of characters makes us who we are, and it obviously makes Network Rail who they are as well. So yeah, I think that's a really good point to make. It's, don't be afraid to be yourself.
Yeah.
So I was going to move on from the application process and talk maybe a bit more about what life is like now. So sticking with you, maybe Alex, you know, tell me a bit like a typical day in the life of being Alex, and what does your work life look like at the moment?
Okay, so as I said right at the start, I'm actually off the grad scheme now.
Yeah.
So I've taken my first role as a project engineer. But before that, I was doing quite a similar role. So I was effectively working as an assistant project engineer before I applied for the role.
Sorry, Alex. So I'm just going to jump in one sec. So
yeah.
you're on your program.
Yeah.
You've been assisting. Was you on the current project you're on now, or were you in that team? Or
no, I've moved teams.
Okay, so you moved teams, keeping within that area you were interested in originally from the program.
Yeah. So I joined the same year as Addy said, as Addy and Michael. So in September, that's sort of the end of our grad scheme. But I chose to start applying early because roles were coming up and I felt like I was ready. So prior to that, as an assistant project engineer, my main role is to offer assurance. So essentially, we have separate designers. So for example, someone like Mott MacDonald, and they send in a design for, say, a footbridge refurbishment.
Okay.
And then my main role was to go through that design and make sure that everything made sense from an engineering perspective, from a commercial perspective. Is it safe? Is it feasible? And then I had to essentially submit my comments to push the project forward. And if I thought, hang on a minute, you know, there's no way that they could possibly do this, then, you know, that's a red flag, and we'd work together to resolve it. The team that I was in before I left the scheme, they have a set contractor called BAM Nuttall, and they do all the major jobs for that team. So I'd be in meetings, talking to the contractors, making sure that they were on target. So yeah, lots and lots of little bits and bobs. I mainly focused on canopies, so over station, the sort of roofs over a station, and bridges. But currently I'm working on earthworks. So either side of the railway, you tend to have an embankment, or a cutting, so things that look sort of like a valley or little hilltops, and I'm sort of making sure that they're stable and they're safe. As I said before, it's all about safety. So yeah, it's really interesting. I'm continually learning, and no day is the same at the moment. So yeah,
what's the biggest kind of challenge you face at the moment, doing the role that you are doing? What is there anything kind of big learning curves that you're going through at the moment? Anything you struggled with?
I think it's the concepts. There's a lot of things to learn, but I kind of don't particularly. It is a challenge, but I like the challenge. I like the fact that I don't know everything, and we have sort of a set of standards that you have to follow, and each of the standards are quite, they tend to be quite long documents. So reading through those and making sure that I'm giving it my best shot. But I do have, I have mentors. I have a really good line manager, and all the other engineers are always on hand if I have any questions. So yeah, it doesn't feel like the walls are closing in. It feels like there's lots of opportunity. Really,
a lot of responsibility.
Not yet. Eventually I'll have responsibility, but for now I'm still learning. Thankfully I'm shadowing someone, but eventually I'll take over his role. But yeah, it's good.
Sounds very interesting. It's funny, isn't it? Can you imagine already after when you started your program to where you are now, you've achieved so much doing what you're doing now. Could you imagine doing what you're doing now when you first started?
No, I mean, to be honest, I didn't know the job existed. So I had no idea. I mean, I similar to Michael, I'm from Cambridgeshire originally, so going up to Manchester and down to Exeter, I took a lot of trains when I was at uni. But I really didn't know that much about the railway, and once you actually start your job with Network Rail, it's endless. There's so much that goes into keeping the railways running, and I'm elated. It's funny because I didn't know this job existed, and I feel like it's the perfect role for me. So
that's great.
Yeah,
that's lovely to hear.
Addy, do you want to talk a bit about your experiences so far and what your typical day would look like?
Okay, so my typical day right now is just I'm working with 3 different teams at the moment, all remotely from home. So one of the teams is in York, well, 2 of them are in York, 2 of them are in York, and the other team, and the other one's in Milton Keynes. So yeah, it's at the moment I'm just going through different video calls every single day, different safety hours, different updates, 3 different sets of reports and things to do. And it's interesting because I'm getting 3 different perspectives all at once, which I wouldn't have ever seen myself doing, because they're all very, very different pieces of work in different areas. And then mainly in the afternoon, I actually get some time to get on with the projects I have, and just use all the information I've taken in from the meetings in the mornings to just make it better and improve it.
Brilliant. So when you finished your program, where do you kind of see your career going after that?
I think at the moment I might try and go into a maintenance sort of role. That's quite trackside, quite down to earth in the actual asset, because I'd like to hone my craft a bit. But after that, I probably somewhere in projects similar to Alex, just working and planning things early in advance and just keeping control from that angle, and then working abroad hopefully in the next couple of years. Yeah,
that's what was going to be my next part. I know you've touched upon that earlier, Addy, with location and being flexible. I think that's great as well, that obviously picking Network Rail, obviously the company can facilitate that. Obviously that was an initial attraction, you say, right at the beginning, being able to work abroad. So if you were to do that, how does Network Rail help with relocation packages? I'm guessing they offer a lot of support.
Well, there's a lot of support. I think one of the things that I'm going to do, but I don't think is necessary, is that there's so much support from the grad scheme to get our chartership and to become
Brilliant.
professionally registered engineers.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
that in itself makes international work a lot easier.
Yeah.
And because the scheme's accredited by the IMechE and the Engineering Council, we've got an MPDS system and one for civil engineering as well, with
Mhm.
ICE, that we can just quickly get through our chartership and be monitored and mentored as we do it. So I think with that, that's a great support as well, to actually
Yeah.
have all the accolades you need. And then with the relocation, they've got it down to a process. So there's people there to help you with them actually relocating and finding new living conditions. They will take into account your family needs as well. If you've got young children or a spouse that you'd like to move
Yeah.
with you,
Mhm.
they can travel and just sort of welcoming you and greeting you there as well. But it can be quite daunting just to change countries so suddenly.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet, yeah, huge. That's great that obviously, again, you get the opportunity to do it, but the support and the network, no pun intended, but you know that you have that the business offers you, which is fantastic. Michael, do you want to kind of touch a bit upon, I know you're in a similar stage to Addy in terms of timeline of your grad program. You know, where are you thinking of going next? Is it, again, something a bit different that you didn't expect yourself to be going into?
So similar to Addy, I'm looking to go into a project role, but whether that's right now or something
Yeah.
towards that, yeah. So somewhere in projects ideally, and then we'll see after that.
So I know, again, I can imagine that chartership is something big for all three of you.
Yeah.
When do you expect to be chartered? Have you kind of set yourself a bit of a goal? Have you got?
So my plan is to be chartered within the next 3 years.
Wow.
But that is quite a strict deadline.
Yeah, that
Quite,
is.
yeah. So as graduates coming into Network Pro, you're expected to be working towards chartership.
Right.
So a lot of the graduates coming in will be coming in from accredited courses.
Yeah.
So we're expected to start working on towards chartership straight away.
Okay.
But there's no real pressure onto when you want to do it, as long as you're keeping track of that and staying on it.
So that 3-year kind of deadline you've set yourself is more you personally rather than
it's a personal target.
Right. Okay.
I think
Alex, are you quite similar in terms of your chartership? Are you going to be on it for the next 3 years?
Yeah, well, I've kind of given myself 5 years, but that includes the grad scheme. So similar to Michael, about, hopefully in the next 2 to 3 years, I will be going for it. But yeah, I had quite a slow start, if I'm honest, when I first joined the grad scheme, but I'm pretty much caught up now. So yeah, I'm hoping. I've got a really, really good mentor. So yeah, it's looking good. It's just getting the experience and yeah.
That's good. My next question, I suppose, Addy, I know you've kind of prepared this one, but it's kind of open to any of you. You know, what advice would you give to either your younger self or to the listeners that are listening now, on, you know, anything that you've kind of gone through that you were really nervous for before you did it?
I would say, if I was to go back and talk to my younger self, I would say keep on browsing the internet and sort of just having fun with it, just on websites, because so much of what you can stumble upon, like new technologies and new ideas and new insights, if you don't actually keep on just sort of procrastinating on the weekends or whatever and browsing the internet, you can lose touch of what's actually current. And if you keep on doing that, you can put yourself in a position where you might not be as up to date on things as you normally would be. So I'd say keep on browsing the internet, keep on exploring things and going to conferences that come up, and any exciting opportunity. It can just really help you develop your mind state. And the one thing I would really say to my younger self is ask for more, just in general. Because it's very, very true. If you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And I realized that when I was younger, I did not ask enough, and I should have.
Good advice. That no, I think it's funny is I think as you get older, you get a bit more confident. You think, you know, it's easy to say that, but no, definitely that is a great bit of advice. Be a bit more confident and ask you don't ask, you don't get. Exactly.
I think to add to what Addy's just said, I think it's important to keep an open mind as well. So like Alex, she had no idea what role she was going to go into, and then she's found this role that's perfect for her. I think for me it was similar in that I never went into electrical engineering initially. I actually started on aerospace engineering.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So thinking, I hated electrical initially.
Right.
And I found that those are the modules that I enjoy. So for me, my advice would be keep an open mind, especially when it comes to what engineering discipline that you're enjoying and you want to go into.
Yeah. It's interesting that, isn't it? I think, keeping an open mind is so key, because
yeah,
you know where it can take you in the future. But I think as well, did you get any work experience at all, Michael? Did you do?
No, I went straight into the 4 years and then went off into the graduate program.
I see. Yeah.
But I think if you can get work experiences, that's invaluable.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the things, again, when I'm speaking to the students and I say, and I think it's something that the careers advisors at the university encourage students to do, because it just helps you, doesn't it? It helps you realise, is this something actually I want to do? And it could be that you come from it thinking, actually, that's not the right industry.
Yeah. Especially if your grades aren't where you want them to be. I think it can really help to set you apart, having that real life experience in the industry you're trying to go into.
So if you can, definitely it's worth any students that are listening now, if you're, a first year student or about to start your second year, if you can start thinking about a placement, start having a look at the opportunities that are out there, if you can get any work experience. And
even if it's a summer internship, it will really make a difference.
Yeah. Brilliant. I'm glad you said that, Alex. Sorry, Michael. Next, Alex, is a bit, kind of what, I know you've kind of touched upon it really, but your 5-year plan. Obviously, I know you've mentioned about you want to be chartered. Where else can you see yourself going? Can you see yourself obviously still with Network Rail, and where can you see yourself progressing to?
Yeah, so as you said, chartership is kind of what I'm really rooting for at the moment, because as Addy said, it will really kind of help if I do ever want to work abroad. And I could definitely see myself working abroad, even if it was just on a 6-month kind of basis. I just think there's so many cool projects out there, and why not? So that would be good. I mean, I really, really like the team I've landed in. So I think there's lots of opportunities to grow, take on more responsibility, potentially get a promotion within Network Rail, and then just sort of see what happens. I mean, there's quite a lot of unknowns, isn't there? So, but yeah, definitely chartership, hopefully some sort of promotion. And then, I because I was on the Anglian route and I grew up in Cambridgeshire, I know that area of the UK really well. So it's quite exciting to be able to kind of, now I'm in the southeast, I'm getting to know the Kent kind of region really well. There's opportunities UK wide, and as Addy said, globally within Network Rail. So I'll probably, if the opportunities don't arise in my current route, I would definitely consider moving. Just keep building up my knowledge base. I mean, I haven't really decided a certain niche really. I mean, I'm working within sort of geotech and drainage at the moment, but I still have quite a good love for structural engineering. So it's really hard, because everything I do I seem to quite enjoy, but I think as it progresses I'll figure it out. But yeah, the number one thing that I'm really going for is chartership.
That's good. Just going back to the point you made on, being flexible in terms of your locations. I think something, that is a good bit of advice, really, to be honest, Alex, because I think sometimes, for whatever reason, sometimes students do kind of narrow the search and think, I do want to stay here in this particular location, but by, being flexible, whether it just be within the UK, or a bit like what Addy's doing, globe trotting and going across the world, but by doing that, it does open up your options, doesn't it? And I think that is a good bit of advice. Beneath all that, I think it's something I do try to say to me and Carla do try and say to our students, to be flexible on locations, because where you end up could be a really good place, and actually is opportunities, these can arise, can't they, if you are flexible. So Michael, 5-year plan? I know by that point you'll already be, you know, a chartered engineer.
Yeah, ideally already be chartered by then.
Yeah.
But, in terms of a role, I intentionally keep it quite open, because the way progression works in network role, it's very much competency based. So you can be doing one role and then take a lot of the competency for another job and then really fancy that one and go off into it. But I do know that I want to be in a managerial position. So yeah, I'm keeping it open.
Michael, your 5-year plan is to be on another webinar with us in 5 years.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, just so all the listeners, you might actually recognise Michael's face, because we use Michael's face a lot around the website. So within the career centre, when you click on, I think it's Insight, you'll see Michael's face. Michael's sat there together. And then we've got some new banners going around the website this week. Again, you'll see Michael's lovely face.
But Addie's going to be on there as well now, because you're a little bit envious, aren't you? So we're going to change things up, Michael. So don't be jealous.
I'm a bit, yeah. I didn't know Michael got around to doing all this stuff.
And we can share it with all your family. That'll be really nice. So yeah, just to recap on a couple of points where I think there's a similar thread through Nina and all the grads. You know, be yourself. Michael didn't actually say this, but I think the point that he was getting to was, you know, embrace change as well. So, you know, you started off doing one degree, then you thought, oh, actually, no, I prefer the electrical side of things. So, you know, don't be afraid to change. Put yourself out there and remember to do your research as well. So I think there's a kind of similar things that, like everybody's mentioned throughout the webinar. What I'd just like to do is obviously thank everybody. I said at the beginning that, you know, the guys here have taken, this is a bit of a chunk out of their day, so thank you very much for participating. To our audience out there, I hope you found it really useful. Why not go and follow Network Rail now and be the first to be alerted about their opportunities. Nina said at the beginning that either September, October time, Nina, we're thinking about opening.
Yeah.
Will that be placements and your graduate opportunities?
I think so, yeah, but I can confirm for you, Carla, so you can put that on your website.
Yeah, fantastic. So what we'll do is we'll put a little bit of a note on the Network Rail hub, so you'll know exactly when they're opening. But follow, then you'll get an email and push notifications, so basically be the first to know. As I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, you can rewatch them. You can rewatch it all if you'd like to, or you can focus on specific areas that we've included. So things like researching, you know, being yourself, how to put a good quality application together, all the hints and tips that you will need before you start getting your applications in. Also, don't forget that we're holding a series of webinars. Our next webinar will actually be in 2 weeks' time, on the 20th of August with Jessica. So Jessica will be back, and my colleague Sophie will also be joining the webinar as well. And they'll be featuring one of the world's largest chemical producers, INEOS. So that's really exciting. I know Jess had a meeting with them a couple of days ago, and there's lots to tell you all about. So I hope you're looking forward to that. Just kind of on a side note as well, away from the webinar strand, we've noticed at the moment that a lot of employers have started to open up their opportunities now for 2021. Some are currently recruiting to start this year as well. So make sure you get onto GradCracker, check out GradCracker on a daily basis, get your applications in, do your research, you know, listen to the guys here. Everything that they say is really really interesting facts that you need to take on board. So yeah, just would like to say thank you very much everybody again for joining us. Good luck with your futures. You've all seem to have got lots going on, and yeah, we'll hope to see you all again soon.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.